Well, 2019 is behind us, but we got some promising gems ahead of us in 2020. So I'm going to give you my top 10 most anticipated horror movies of 2020. Let's do this. What is up, guys? 2019 is behind us, and I'm excited for what's to come in horror in 2020. So I'm going to give you 10 movies that I'm really anticipating, and I'm going to give you 2 honorable mentions as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First honorable mention is a movie that actually comes out next week, I think, The Grudge. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of the previous American version of The Grudge with Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's okay. After watching the trailer for this one, I will say this is probably one of the most effective and creepiest trailers I've seen in a long time, actually. I mean, there's this like one scene where the great Lynn Shay, her fingers are like chopped off, and it just looks very gritty and dirty and exactly what I want in a horror movie. The movie could be complete crap, but from what I saw in the trailer, it looks really promising, actually. And the second honorable mention is Gretel and Hansel. This is one that I just heard about recently, but after watching the trailer for this, it definitely has like a Robert Eggers like witch vibe. Now, if you remember, there was like that Jeremy Renner action, I guess horror comedy for Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel's not like one of my favorite fairy tales, I guess, but the only thing that really got me interested in this movie was actually the trailer. Just because it looks like a very well directed and almost like artsy looking film. Okay, now let's get into the top 10. Number 10 is going to be The Turning. Finn Wolfhard, who is in Stranger Things, he's going to be in Ghostbusters. The guy, or the kid, I guess, is working his butt off. I literally stood right behind him when I was like an extra on Stranger Things, by the way. Yeah, he's really working. He reminds me of like John Cusack. But this movie, The Turning, it kind of reminds me of like The Others, like the Nicole Kidman movie, where you got these 2 kids. They're in this like mansion, and you got this Mackenzie Davis. She's actually house sitting or something like that with the mansion. But a lot of interesting visuals in this trailer that I saw, and it looks like there's some nice creepy moments in there. You know, with supernatural horror films, you never know what you're going to get. So I'm hoping that this one delivers, though. It looks pretty interesting, actually. Number 8 is a movie that I don't know too much about, Antlers. But it looks like one of those like metamorphosis type movies where you have a character that's like slowly turning into something, kind of like The Fly. Scott Cooper is the director, who is a director kind of like David Gordon Green that directs like a bunch of different genres. So that can be a good thing, actually, with horror. You know, it's always interesting when somebody steps outside of their comfort zone and tries something different. But the trailer looked really interesting, actually. I mean, they show the scene where the guy, like, he's transforming into this, like, creature with antlers. And also Jesse Plemons, who was Todd in Breaking Bad and really has made a name for himself recently. He's in this, and that grabbed my attention, actually. I like that actor. There's something about him. He does look like Matt Damon, actually, but there's something about him that just draws you in, so that's just a bonus. Number 8 is Invisible Man. This is directed by Lee Winnell, who has not done me wrong recently, actually, with Upgrade. Upgrade was fantastic. And really, judging by the trailer, which might show a little bit too much, but I'm not really surprised by what it shows because it's about the Invisible Man. But it looks like a very effective film, actually, and I bet there's going to be some good twists in this thing by the end of it. And I don't think they give it away in the trailer. But also Elizabeth Moss, who was in Us, who's great in that. I think she's going to be great in this. And of course, you know, I'm thinking about like Hollow Man. Hollow Man was a very effective movie, kind of underrated, actually. So I might have to go back and watch that one again, maybe review it before this movie comes out, but I'm looking forward to this, actually. Number 7, A Quiet Place 2. No surprise here. The first one was really, really good. To me, the first one was so good, not because of the creatures. The creatures are almost forgettable. It's the performances, that family. That family is like so likable with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Well, Emily Blunt is in this one along with Cillian Murphy, which Cillian Murphy is another actor that's just so likable and so interesting. So I think he's going to add some great flavor to this movie. And John Krasinski is back to direct it. So I think it's a win-win. Number 6, this movie has been on the shelf for 2 years now, I think. New Mutants, the X-Men movie. And the reason it's on this list is because I'm really curious. I mean, it is a horror movie. It's a bona fide horror superhero movie with these young X-Men, and they're in, or I guess mutants, they're not X-Men yet, they're mutants, and they're in this like mental ward. You know, they're keeping them from society because they're a danger to society. But there's one line in the movie that grabs my attention too, in the trailer, where he says, is this like a haunted house? And that grabbed my attention. So it looks like a very effective movie, actually. I'm hoping it delivers. It could be complete crap. It does scare me that it's been on the shelf for a couple of years. Really, the problem is Disney. Disney doesn't know what to do with this property. You know, Disney's very careful about what they release, and I don't think they want to release horror movies. So maybe they're just reorganizing what they're doing under their 20th Century Fox umbrella. But I'll definitely be there day one. I'm hoping this one's good. Number 5 is Terrifier 2. I believe they're slated for October. They already have all the money they need from their Indiegogo campaign. I believe Damien Leone is shooting now, but Terrifier is an interesting movie because I gave it a bad rating the first time I reviewed it. And then it just was one of those movies that stayed in my head, and it kept calling me to come back and give it another watch. And when I watched it again, I actually enjoyed it. You know, it's a graphic movie, don't get me wrong. And of course, if you've seen the first movie, you know that there is a scene there that's really going to get, you know, a conversation going. But Art the Clown, I think, is a bona fide horror icon, modern horror icon at least. So I'm really curious to see what they can do with the sequel. So I'm really looking forward to it, actually. And it was really cool to meet Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton, and they actually autographed this for me. This Terrifier Blu-ray. Number 4, you might throw tomatoes at me for this one, but Brahms The Boy 2. I was one of the few that actually really enjoyed The Boy. That movie was kind of raked across the coals, especially from critics. And for some reason, I think that is one of the earlier reviews that I did that kind of, I don't want to say launched my channel, but it really helped because the reviews got like almost 50,000 views still. It keeps getting views for some reason. Sometimes that happens, I guess, in YouTube. But the movie was good. You know, it had one of the best surprise twists of the year. And so good of a twist that it makes me curious about that character Brahms in the sequel. So it's the same director. I'm on the line with it. It could be complete crap because how do you top that twist from the first movie? I don't know, but I'm curious. This thing comes out in February and there's not even a trailer yet. That's a bad sign. Number 3, The Conjuring 3. Now, the Conjuring universe is definitely a mixed bag. There's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff there. But I do like the first 2 Conjuring movies. So I think this third one has a chance. Now, James Wan is not directing this one. So that could be a bad sign, but we'll see how it turns out. There's very little out there about this actual story. Michael Chevelle, who directed The Curse of La Llorona, which was not a movie I really cared for that much. It had some decent directing in it though, but man, way too much CGI scares, and that did nothing for me. But what does grab my attention is the story itself, where a murder suspect claims demonic possession as a defense. So that could be interesting. We'll see. Number 2, Last Night in Soho. All you need to hear is Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors working today. I mean, the guy is a master filmmaker. And he happens to be a big horror fan. One of his favorite movies is actually Halloween, which I think is really cool. But Last Night in Soho is like a psychological horror movie. And there's very little information about the plot. All we know right now is that it's kind of influenced by Repulsion and Don't Look Now. Those 2 movies are heavy influences on this story, which is very promising actually. So I'm really curious to see what Edgar Wright can do with a bona fide horror movie. Because he's done like horror comedy with Shaun of the Dead, but you know, this being straight up horror definitely has me interested. And then of course, number 1, are you really surprised? Halloween Kills. Halloween 2018, despite your reservations about the movie, was a huge box office hit and really reinvigorated this franchise. And you know what? It was a good movie. It's a really good movie, actually. I mean, I freaking went crazy for it when it first came out after the dust settled. I got a few problems with it, but still, it's one of the better Halloween movies. I will definitely give it that. And I'm really curious to see what happens going forward with this movie. I mean, I don't really have to talk too much about it because I do updates on this movie at least like once every couple months. And now that we're in 2020, I'm going to start ramping up those updates. Hallowstream Kills is going to be coming back lot of preparing for this movie. It's going to be an exciting year. So anyway, guys, that's my most anticipated horror movies of 2020. Post down in the comments the ones that you're looking forward to. And stay tuned for my most anticipated non-horror. That's coming out soon too. And also be sure to come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day and every day on Fridays. We do free for all Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.